What's up, guys? It's day 6 now. Today is June 3rd, 2026, and I want to build a headphone stand. Now, I never really had a headphone stand before, and I know I could probably buy one for like 10 bucks off Amazon, or probably even cheaper from Family Dollar or something. But I just never really wanted to. What I used to do actually is I hammered a nail into my wall next to my computer, and I just hung my headphones from there because there were some skinny Sennheiser headphones that my dad had for work, some old ones, and he didn't need them anymore, so I took them. So they were, light enough to hang on a nail in a wall. But I mean, a couple flaws with that. First of all, property damage, I guess. Second of all, when I was hammering it, it was like low key, like 11 at night. So my parents came down so confused, like, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing, nothing. Then my dad literally asked me, like, do you hear that noise? I was like, no. And he went upstairs confused. But I finished hammering it by then. So sorry. Anyway, I don't even know if I have the materials to build this headphone stand, but I'm gonna go check my family's garage right now because I know that my dad has some scrap wood lying around, as dads do. But I hope that we do, because I do want part of this channel to be some engineering projects, because like I mentioned in my channel trailer, day zero, whatever, I'm an engineering major. I'm an electrical computer engineering, but I do have an interest in robotics, and I never really dove deep into robotics or mechanical construction or stuff before, but I want to, I want to get familiar with that. I have a little bit through extracurriculars, but not enough for me to feel comfortable with it. So I'm gonna take this time, this challenge, to not only motivate me to, construct these items, but also to document it and my learning process, how familiar I get with it, my struggles, because I can only imagine how much I'm going to struggle. Actually, this just reminds me, I have to find my old toolbox as well. Actually, my dad probably has some tools in the garage. I used to have my own toolbox that I got when I was like a bear in Cub Scouts. So when I was in 3rd grade, I remember actually vividly assembling it with my den. We each got these like toolbox kits to construct. I think they were Cub Scout branded actually, but they were really nice. And, we built them in the moment. We got some nice tools. I'm pretty sure I know where it is, but if I could just get tools next to any scrap wood, then I'm gonna just use those, right? It's easier. But yeah, I'm gonna go look for wood. All right, awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I was like planning on using like a hammer and stuff. It's my laundry room. That light don't need to be on. I was planning on using a hammer and stuff, but I just checked my dad's drill and the battery is not dead, so I might end up using that just to make it easier. But I'm gonna look for wood. We have all this wood up here, so I know that we have wood. I think more clearly I need to look for like a saw or something to work with this wood, because well, I want to make it like an actual stand. I just don't want to basically glue a bunch of stuff together and call it a stand. I want to put some actual effort into this. I should ask my dad where the saw is, because there's a lot of boxes here, as you guys can see. I don't really want to disorganize his stuff, because I mean, it looks messy, but my dad does have the system. He knows where everything is. Yeah, I might just figure this out later. Low-key, all I might need is just these 2 pieces of wood, because this one at the bottom, very thick. It's great for a base. It's got some weight to it. This one is skinnier. I don't know why it's colored like this, but it's skinnier, but I think I could chop it up into a couple pieces and make it into each part of the stand, Like this on its own, or rather, this on its own will be the front of the stand. I'll cut off part of the top. I'll turn it into the actual hanger part, and then maybe I'll add a little, if I have some pieces left over, add a little lip, I guess you could call it, for the thing to actually stand on. I do want to stand this stuff though, because I don't want to get any splinters. I have like a fear of getting splinters. My dad definitely has like sanding blocks somewhere, or sandpaper maybe even, but maybe he even has a Dremel. This is a great start. It's just working our way up from here.
Much later.
I'm not gonna lie, it's many hours later. I took a fat nap, but it's still daylight out, same day. And I was just talking to my dad. He informed me that we may not have a saw after all. We do have sandpaper, but if we don't have a saw, I don't really know what I'm gonna do, because my entire idea was kind of just counting on the fact that I would have this saw, but I don't know. I'm gonna look around. I'm not gonna give up, because I swear we used to have one. I know that I used to go camping with like my family, extended family, when I was younger, and we needed a saw for like wood, but I don't know if it was ours or if it was someone else's. But I swear I've seen it in my family's garage. Worst comes to worst, my dad said I could ask my neighbor, which I don't really want to do, because at that point I would have to like really plan this stuff out. Like, I'm gonna do some measurements and stuff. I have this little food scale. I'm about to use it to weigh the blocks, just to see how heavy they are, to understand like the weight distribution. I don't know, might be BSing right now, but yeah, I'm just looking around. I've been looking around my garage, and I think I found the saw that I remember us having. I mean, This just looks unsafe to use. I mean, I'm touching everything with gloves. Because I know, I've seen this stuff before. I know it's all rusty. But the issue with this saw is it doesn't have a handle. I don't even know if it's strong enough to cut through a thick slab of wood like that one. I've been testing like random knives I've been finding here just to see if there's any possibility. But as you can imagine, there isn't really. I feel like my family used to have like an actual hacksaw. But probably gave it to a family member. But I'm gonna keep looking. I'm not gonna give up hope. Alright, unfortunately, the search for the saw came up unsuccessful. That other one that I found, the broken one, wouldn't have worked anyway. I guess it's $2. It's been years, if you couldn't tell by the rust. It's been years since a lot of these tools have been used. But I tried testing the saw on the block of wood, and the serrations wouldn't even do anything. But it is like 8 p.m. See the date? It's still June 3rd, same day. And I don't want to ask my neighbor to borrow his saw in the middle of the evening. Maybe I'll ask him tomorrow or at a later day. But I do want to start planning how I'm going to build this out of these 2 blocks with like measurements and everything. And I mentioned like the weight and stuff. Like, I'm not too concerned about it. I think I'm more just curious to see how much the base will weigh and how much the thing will weigh. But I also want to consider if I want to have it standalone or if I want to attach it to my desk. I could hypothetically screw it to the bottom of my desk and have like a cool setup where my headphones just go right there. Or I can make it a standalone thing where it's portable and I can bring it to my dorm in the fall. But that's just something for me to consider. But for now, I'm gonna look at other headphone stands on like Amazon and stuff. I'm gonna look at their dimensions, see what sort of stuff I should be doing, and yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. So I'm not gonna lie, I started sketching out a whole idea, but then after I searched up headphone stands and I found that they all look like this, with like a pretty flat base relative to like the thickness of the wood I was planning on using, with a thin rod as opposed to, you know, the pretty large piece of wood I was going to use to be the actual stand itself. So instead, I found this long piece of wood instead, and I realized that the weight difference, that plank is actually is heavier than my headphones are, which is good. See, my concern was that the headphones would be too heavy for the stand, but even this plank, you know, it may not be as big as this one, but it still holds a good amount of weight to keep the headphones stable. So I'm glad I got that comparison out of my mind, and I'm about to just start redesigning this with a simpler design in mind, because I feel like it also just look way better, way prettier, and be more practical to keep on a desk. Because with these 2, I know it would have been super large, it would have been difficult to put on a desk, but you know, with these new 2 planks, these the white and this skinny one, I know it'll be more practical and probably go better. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start resketching. I don't know if you guys took the time to actually, whoa, I look grimy, what the heck. I think it was the light from my iPad, I hope so. I don't know if you guys took the time to actually look at what I was sketching. I don't really know if I'm sketching like the correct way. Like, you guys might have seen a bunch of math written down. I mean, that's just sort of me just like guesstimating if I'm actually supposed to do that. Like, I don't know if there's an easier way to do that than just algebra, you know what I mean? Like, there probably is, but this is my first time doing a project like this, and honestly, I'm having a ton of fun. You know, if there is an easier way to do this, and you guys know, I'd love for you guys to tell me. So, you know, drop it down in the comments and stuff. You know, all that stuff. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun learning about this stuff, but I know that there's a lot of room for improvement just about the fluidity of my methods stuff. But I'm gonna get finished with this sketch and show you guys what I'm thinking. I was looking at more examples on Amazon, and I saw a couple that had a built-in wireless charger, or not a couple, I think like one, because I can't really find it again. But I was thinking I could do that myself. I have this wireless charger that I don't need anymore. It's for my old phone because the lightning cable stopped working, and I had no other way to charge it but by using MagSafe. But my parents recently bought me a new phone, so I don't need this anymore. I can use the cable. But if I can integrate it into this project, I think that'd be really cool, because I can have the headphone stand here. This is also the bottom. I didn't want to draw on the pretty side with the white paint, so I just sketching this out on the bottom, and I was thinking how I'd want to divot it, you know what I mean? Well, mainly I was thinking about the cable. I was thinking of cutting out both ways. That way the cable could be routed either way depending on where the outlet is relative to the headphone stand, you know? But again, these are just my thoughts. You know, this is just me sketching out ideas and just trying to see where I can work with them, because as you can see, it's a very tight fit. You know, it's very difficult to fit everything. I mean, I think, especially with the added weight of a charger, I mean, it's not that heavy, but I think any weight would help support the headphones, you know. My main concern, I guess, is just will it be able to balance, but I'm going to continue thinking of ideas and continue brainstorming. I see a lot of the stands also have the headphones resting on a curved surface, and I found this old PVC pipe in the garage, but I'm considering whether I want to, you know, mix and match materials or keep it all in wood. I mean, this PVC pipe is denser than this piece of wood is, but then again, I don't even know if I would use this wood or if I'd use part of the larger plank as the actual headphone holding surface. So that's still something I have to figure out, because a lot of these other products are using a curved shape that follows the natural curve of the headphones. But if I'm using this piece, for instance, this is a pretty small piece of wood in, I guess, in length or diameter. I'm not sure how you'd compare it compared to, or in general. So, you know, how it rests, it doesn't really affect its curvature very much because it's so skinny, you know. So I don't really need to consider the curvature that much with this piece of wood. But with the other piece of wood, if I'm to use like part of the base plank as part of the holder, then that's something to consider. But the main issue is not so much the shape, but it is just the structural integrity. The PVC is denser, which means I'm more confident that it'll be able to support the weight of the headphones in the stand. This is a lighter material, which makes me not necessarily concerned, but just wondering how stable it'll come out to be. But I mean, there's a lot of brainstorming and just a lot of considerations, but I'm having fun. I think it's cool. All right, so this is what I have so far with my planning stage. I recorded all of the measurements that I need, the measurements of the white plank that I'm using as the base, the measurement of the skinny wood that I'm going to use as the actual stand part, and the measurements of the headphones. I mean, this measurement actually is not correct. I'm not sure why it's not crossing out. Sure. I don't know what happened when I measured it, but it did come out correct. It's 6, not 4. But this is the general sketch I came up with. As you can see, the blue is the skinny wood, and it will hold either the PVC or itself on top. And I'll explain how I'll decide that later. But I have the skinny wood here. I have the base is down here with all the dimensions labeled, as you can see. In the middle here, I have the MagSafe charger. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm not sure whether I'm going to use the wood or PVC for this top part here, but I found a way to decide. I will first test it by seeing if I can use the stand wood to hold the headphones up. And if I can, and the headphone stand can stay balanced, it won't topple over, and the headphones remain stable, then I'll keep that, just to keep everything the same, you know, everything in wood, and keep my build simpler overall. However, if that fails, then I will ultimately move to the PVC, which is denser and therefore I think should be a stronger option if the wood is not good enough. I've chosen not to even consider the big piece of wood I'm using just because it's too large to rest the headphones on comfortably in a way that won't really damage its padding. So it's really just between these two options. But yeah, this is my plan. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna make these cuts and stuff. I mean, I know that for these two, the stand and the base, I'm just gonna drill them together. I'm thinking more about how I'll cut a spot open for the portable charger. But I mean, this is just to introduce you guys to my idea. I'm gonna end up cutting everything and hopefully finishing it by tomorrow once I can get my neighbor's saw. But yeah, there's still a little bit of planning that needs to be done with this, but so far I think it's looking in good condition. Now it's just a matter of executing and getting it done. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this project as much as I did. I'm excited to see where it goes. I hope you guys are too. I'll see you guys tomorrow.